I see we have a new participant, someone we also know from the ecosystem outflows course. Rodolfo, would you like to introduce or just say hi and give a bit of a background why you got interested in the in this working group? Because I thought our exchange was actually super insightful. And don't worry that I'm putting you on spot. You might as well, however you feel like sharing level. If you just want to say hi and just share whatever you have in mind, don't worry.
Hi,
I
Sebnem.
can.
Sorry, is that for me? For
Yes, yes.
Rodolfo? Oh, okay. Sorry about that. My headphones were yeah. I just heard the last part. I didn't know it was directed at me. Yeah. Let me turn on my camera. Hey guys, nice to meet you. Yeah. I mean, I think I've been involved in some form with token engineering for since the Berlin 2019 blockchain week, and there are a lot of questions. What really attracted me to the space was the idea of really changing how organizations work right together, and the closest theorem of the firm. Sorry, give me 1 second. Closest theorem of the firm, and all of those pieces were really what drove me into this. More of the incentive, the social systems that can be built on blockchain. And I just have a lot of questions, perhaps more questions than answers or insights about what what it is to what is designable in these systems versus what isn't, and what is perhaps even one level below, like philosophically good, right? But what is fair, right, for participants
Mm-hmm.
in these systems? So that's kind of like, and yeah, I kind of like bombarded Shebnem via DM with questions and thoughts, but that's what brings me here, and I'm super happy to be getting in touch with you guys, and yeah, and I'm doing some other things on the side, but I won't bore you with that.
No, super cool. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for sharing. And basically, also, really happy that we are extending this group further and further with people who really ask pinpoint to the ethical questions that there are. For example, we had a nice exchange about token sale. If you're basically, you know, as a token engineer, someone who looks at the token model, etc., how much of a saying one actually has, how much or what to do with whatever is happening out there in the reality versus what would be a best standard way to go about, and then also how to express ethical concerns or concerns about fairness, even to start with, right? Bull markets and what have you. So um, I hope that we have it on the agenda. Maybe we can also put it in there. How do we start these dialogues about token engineering ethics on one hand, and the practicality of it all? Like we are all somehow in it for the changing of how organizations work, how they can work differently, maybe more contextual in a although in a globally connected way. Yeah, I guess I'm looking forward to be able to collect or have this group to be able to collect uh, questions, insights, pressing issues that people active in token projects or associated with token projects have. Yes, and that's why every time a new member participant joins in, it's always good to have these insights sharing. There's also David. who's new, currently joined. David, would you also like to share with the working group a bit of a background or your interest? Okay, maybe just listening in. And I would say I'm pulling up the agenda. Yes. Here we go, and then we'll just tag along. Okay. Here we go. I see you are already. So maybe we can have a first round of everyone. If there are any questions, ideas for today's sessions or later sessions, even if it's just what brings you to Omega or what you would want us to tackle next, especially if you don't see it on the agenda yet. Can we have a round? Yeah, maybe Durgadas is also here. So yeah, let's have a round. Rodolfo, let me let me start with you again. Is there some aspect, a question or something you would like to put on the agenda for now or later?
Um, yeah, I don't know that I have a really well formulated question, but um, yeah, I don't know if this. I sent you a screenshot of something that I was thinking about. I don't know if. Uh, let me think about that. Can I take a pass for like 5 minutes? Let me collect my
Of
thoughts, and
course,
then
of
I'll have
course.
something a little bit better after.
Of course. Then let's give it to maybe Durgadas. You made it after some time. Would you like to put something on the agenda that you wanted to get off your chest and you don't see it yet?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like you're catching me by surprise too. So I think yeah, I'm really interested in trying to figure out our developmental stuff. So that is to say, I'm particularly interested in deliberately developmental organizations because I feel like it's the next natural step after DAOs. So once people are done being like, I'm tired of centralization and bad centralization, bad. Now we're all in a DAO, so let's assume that we're all going to always be in a DAO, and we're always going to have that. Now what do we do? And being deliberate about developing the internal people and the organization as a whole is a primary concern to me. So that's
and just trying to connect it to maybe one of those like deliberately decentralized. That's also somehow connected to intentions, right? Why is it that we want to
that's right.
decentralize? So
yeah, so it seems like decentralization is almost like a boundary to prevent certain kinds of ills from arising that come from overly centralized systems. At the same time, it also it so not only does it create a boundary toward this sort of centralization thing, but it also kind of holds space for people to expand into, and for whatever the subject matter of the group, in this case token engineering, is, to expand into, right? And so who is it that's holding that space? And how do we sort of deliberate some of this thing? So for example, if you look at my comments on the praise system, almost all of those are pointed at the what if we were to be more deliberate about our praise system, so that it would give us more useful information toward the development of not only the individuals but the group as a whole. So, yeah.
Yeah, feel free to link whatever you have there. But that's cool. That's cool. Okay, please
Yes, I'm
pass it
sorry.
on to someone. So yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Would you be able to share the link to this? I think that the link in the invitation is native.
Do you mean?
I believe there's a chat. Yeah,
Yeah, in the Omega chat, I think you can
Oh,
follow.
there it is. That's
this
my
is
bad.
the agenda. That's cool.
My
That's
bad.
cool. It's your first time participating. All good. Thanks. Okay, who should be next? Do you want to pass it on so it isn't me?
Yeah. So
putting
let's say,
people on the spot.
yeah, let's say, Juan's here. Good. Welcome, Juan.
Okay, thank you, Durgas. Well, I have this question like for some months now, and maybe it's good to share it. And it's about the boundaries of what is being a TE, because sometimes we talk about the TE, and it's not well defined, that boundary of who is a TE, what are the requirements of being a TE, and like, yeah, and what is the division between the people who is TE in this community, and the people who is not a TE, then what are they? Because yeah, I feel that we talk about transdisciplinarity, but when we get to the ground, we refer to TE, or like more to certain petals of the flower than the others.
You mean engineering heavy?
Yeah.
Heavy petals, and like for one thing we want to preserve and nurture, or preserve, I think, is the acknowledgement that the always the right side of the petals are engineering heavy. It's like northeast, and southwest is humanities, social sciences, political science, etc. And that, or what that, I agree with you that when we are talking about it, or when people out there even talk about token engineer or engineering, they have the vision of an engineer, right? But for example, it's also something we emphasize everywhere, I guess, but also especially here, that, well, I don't. Boundaries is a bit difficult. What is that? But that learning is continuous, that we here have an initiative that is literally about jumping together knowledge from multiple disciplines, but are in the foreground. And I would even add to that. So I don't know boundaries. I'm just putting it in quotation marks. Maybe we can, in those discussions or in those dialogues, we can go deeper into. But basically, the second part of it is also we just look at it from an expert and academic perspective, even when we are in the Consilience project, for example. And we had this discussion as well, like who, or let me put it that way, and this is my favorite, expert versus learner. What is that if this is an emerging field, right?
And I
Field, and it's a new paradigm. I can imagine someone with a beginner's mind and a learner has many ways up from someone who is in quotation marks deep subject matter expert, not interested in or not acknowledging the different fields, for example, or is only interested in looking at the space from one lens. I find, for example, such a perspective extremely limiting. Also, some domains literally have difficulties to admitting paradigm shifts like traditional economics versus complexity economics and so on and so forth. So I find this is a very important question. Thank you for bringing it up. And as you see, the intention emerges like it would be great if we have topics around which good participatory research or focus group discussion dialogues can be started.
so can I make a suggestion about this?
Yes, yes,
Um,
please.
so rather than boundaries necessarily, it might make sense to assess the means by which we make decisions related to uh, what it means to be a TE. So I immediately think of the Cynefin framework in this sense, in the sense where, is this something that's just clear and simple? Is this something complicated, like in the realm of the expert, which is the reason why I thought of this? Is this something complex, which is, that is to say, we need to do experiments to determine what's going on, just so that we can move it from the complex into the complicated, where then expertise is useful to make it then familiar to somebody who's dealing with something simple. So in many ways, the work that we're doing is we're taking this disordered thing, moving it into the chaotic, moving it into the complex, moving it into the complicated, and making it clear, right? And so if we just recognize that that's a thing that we're in, a process that we're in, just making a determination where we're starting and then where we're trying to get it to might be a helpful orienting principle.
Can you recall the frameworks? What was the framework's name?
I can post the link in
yeah.
a little graphic about that, and
Cool.
some links if you want.
And adding to that, Juan, I think that's a great point. But I'm wondering if we're thinking about this, saying what is, rather than what does a team look like, right? And I know that Angela, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry, I thought someone was speaking.
No.
But yeah, I know that sometimes, Sebnem, you probably were involved with Angela in creating this kind of like how does the traditional software development setup work in token engineering, right? But right now there's no distinction right now. Just one thing, right? So I'm wondering if we could do something like I don't want to say the Agile Manifesto, talked about that, and I'm not necessarily like all bought into that, but something like that kind of, here's what could be, right. Addendum to that would be, and here's clearly not everyone is this, be like across so many fields, right? So here are the roles that that would form something that we think about as, oh, this is at least considering all the different angles, is potentially more ethical or from that angle than other teams, right? That's purely like engineering or any other.
You're spot on. And also, Durgadas is currently sharing something. It's called Virtual Cycles, which I'm testing. And so you're spot on. And I can also share a few things with you. This is one of those very, very practical things that is super interesting. In my point of view, create an environment of token model development and deployment in which raising issues is part of the process and not, obstructing or anything like that, but actually there is a settled, like in the Agile manifesto, it's just a manifesto saying what is important, right? I have here a method. Yeah, just to give, I don't want to go into that quickly, but you remember we had this what type of method thingy, and I was like against method. But I realized that it's especially when you are in as a team or a single advisor or what have you in a project, it's not really helpful. But actually picking up on this whole post-agile movement, or people also recognizing that agile, dark agile, like the manifesto just being misunderstood or misimplemented, right? In itself, it's a wonderful, we say these are all things that are useful or valuable, but we value the things on the left more, which is, for example, customer collaboration over contract negotiation. In a decentralized organization, this should be even more expressive. Individuals and interactions over processes and tools, again, is something that definitely is important. And just to add to it, like how could this whole ethical aspect of token engineering can be actually part of the process, right? And agreed upon or shown that why it is actually value adding, because it's strengthening, making things more resilient, less fragile. So how to do ethical encoding. And one aspect that Durga does really focuses on, and which I experience, is also the what I like to call inner game, in a sense, like as a person, as a human being, the token engineer, are you being taken care of in this environment or in this process? Like, how can we make such a manifesto that is practical, gives you rails to lean against as a token engineer, and it isn't awkward to actually pinpoint issues, ethical or otherwise, but also that somehow has like a manifesto. Very good point. I like that. It's super practical. And there are some things practical.
I will say that video that I included in there speaks directly to how Agile and Cynefin can be used together, and in terms of management, generally operates out of the complex and the complicated, things like that. So depending on what it is that you're trying to do, and then I think there's a kind of tensegrity between the data preceding the framework. That is to say, we're discovering new things, therefore we don't know how to frame them. And the framework preceding the data, which is this is how we imagine it's going to go, but and which one gets precedence at that time, and who decides what that tensegrity is about. And I think it's equally important to maintain flexibility in that sense.
Super cool. Okay, who do you want to pass it on, or if anyone wants to jump in?
Banjir.
Hey.
Hey, hi. I'm pretty new here.
Welcome.
Thank you. I just had yes, Sebnem.
No, I just want to. Banjir found his way from TE Philosophy channel. So just an intro. You might as well the point was to get, especially it's perfect like if you have the one thing that drove you here or what you want to put on the agenda for now or later sessions where we want to have actual focus group discussions and participatory research on topics like diversity, ethos of token engineering. What is it even being a token engineer? If you would like to add something now, or just tell the group what drives you here, either way is yeah.
Sure.
It's like.
Yeah. So glad to be here. There is some main aspects I'd like to see in a token engineer while they ponder about designing systems that interact with each other. There should be some consideration of reaching some sort of equilibrium, or at least some thoughts put into, even though there is diversity, there's some rewards for being diverse. At the same time, there should be at least a quality of life where equality is also given. So equality is a perceived value that every agent that's participating in the system should feel. Equality is being at least sought after and being pursued. Inclusion, yeah, exactly. So that's one of my main motivating factor. I think there should be some thoughts and detailed exploration in this direction.
Totally agree. Also, one of the recent topics that is popping up, like we talk about, all of this is open and permissionless, but that doesn't mean it's inclusive at all. It doesn't mean that people who might benefit most from these technologies are actually reaping the benefits. Currently, it more looks like that the people who've been running the old system are now running the new system. If you look at delegated votes in DeFi protocols, it's the venture capitals, A16Z. Was it? Yeah, and then one of the at the very least one of the crypto VC funds, etc. But that's basically it. Yeah, for a short time, a token engineer was was holding a lot of delegated votes. Andre, but he's not, not even he. So that's a topic. Thanks for contributing. That's a super interesting topic with actual cases we can put on the table. Yes. Do you want to share a bit of your background for the group?
Yeah, sure. I had the pleasure of being onboarded by Suga earlier, and I met Dugadas as well in the community call. I'm Van, actually a pseudonym. I work with Siemens in Singapore as a data scientist. Previously, I was an academic, and by training, worked a lot with genomics and sequencing.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but my
Cool.
main interest is in data science and also machine learning, but mainly, yeah, genomics is what I am well versed in. But all these new things that's coming up in blockchain is some of my interest areas as well.
Very cool, very cool. Do you know of the Token Engineering Commons Tech Lab? I think you will find a couple of data scientists there.
Yeah, I
Definitely.
haven't got the
And
chance to explore there yet.
cool.
I actually
Yeah,
got
so there's
introduced to TC via Boson protocol. So yeah, happy to
okay.
be here.
Cool. Yes, yes. So perfect. Great to have you. Also, I'm an ex-Siemens.
Yeah, realized that.
So a huge organization. It's kind of interesting. An organization of 350 plus thousand people. That's the kind of scale that
Yeah.
some token networks would even would dream of. So that's also an interesting aspect. Like, how are we going to be organized differently than those shareholder-driven, market-driven multinational corporations? How is this time going to be different? So, okay. Who do you want to pass it on to?
I came in late. I'm not sure whether
Okay.
John Cabell already did
Yeah,
input.
he went. Then let me, Sebastian, do you want to add next?
Sure. Ethics. I think ethics links a lot to economics. I mean, ethical and there's not really any ethics in culture. Once you're in your closed domain, you should be as free as possible. In legal aspects, it's quite regulated, but in economics, ethics is the least explored, and that's where you can set up all the token structures that you want of governance, but understanding what economics is and what a value is and what commodities are and what are not are strict, extremely ethical concerns. So until you get to that conversation, really figuring out governance structures without really addressing. I mean, it's good to develop the governance structures because you're going to need all of them. But then when you get to the rubber hits the road when you start talking about is land a commodity, is labor a commodity, all those things which are highly ethical and highly debatable and not really any conclusive aspect to it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no real theory of what money is to this day. No economist actually can agree on that, or there's no clear definition either. So it's good to have all the token governance models to be had and that had existed in history, but the debate actually starts when we start addressing those topics.
So I just added a thing, by the way, into that that actually speaks about all of these different things with respect to ethics and just how deep the concern for ethics goes within our group here. I think it should be evident from looking at this, and it's why I created this graphic, is because each one of these things is a kind of a statement on ethics from a different perspective, if you know what I'm saying. So, so I just wanted to show you guys that, just because that was a conversation. But I don't know if it's appropriate. You can take it out whenever you like. But
Yeah, I mean the whole inclusion part, etc., and that's also something you put always forward as something special, also in Token Engineering Commons, that is radically inclusive, right? Maybe we can
yeah,
discuss it here.
yeah. Anyway, as you like, I just keep hearing
Yeah,
ethics.
I'm just going to add pluralism and integration. It's also an aspect, right? Okay, cool. I will just push it a bit further. Yeah. Okay. We have only 20 minutes left, but I think that was that is super insightful, especially when new people join. Who else wants to get something off their chest?
Yeah, I can take it.
Especially with
Oh,
yes, please.
yeah, it's about what we were also chatting the other day. I wonder, like, when we have credentials management and when we talking in the name of the DAO, like, who should do that, why, and like, there is a lot of questions that rise to my mind. And after doing some research and, like, very little research, and the articles you shared with me, like, it was talking about, like, this multisig, but then at the same time, like, how many people should be in the multisig, like, then there is, like,
Yeah.
this question about efficiency, when, like, there is people that might need to work and they might need the credentials, but it's that question about efficiency and security, and who should act in the name of the DAO, and why, and I don't know, there is a lot of questions there. Yeah. And I'll pass it to.
Yeah.
Oh.
Cool. I'm putting it kind of under ethical modes of reasoning, because that might be helpful, but these are also super practical current issues, right? I realized that Kevin from Gitcoin also was just recently asking that, and they literally had this wonderful DAO already spun up. right in the millions of investment, and the token value goes up, and then people ask, like, oh, does anyone know how to how to distribute access? So yeah, it's currently a lot of these questions are asked after the fact, but it would be great if we at the very least collect them, inquire into those from a practical perspective, really, getting those insights, but then also trying to get this ethical modes of reasoning off the ground, sound decision making for individuals and the collective, as the collective. Yeah. Okay, thank you, Sebnem.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll pass it to Letty.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I would just like to share the Miro board for looking at the Typeform results. I just finished making it, so we can play around with that if we want.
Fantastic. Where is it?
I posted in the chat and in the agenda.
This one? Do you see it? I'm sharing. Well, let me go where you are.
Yeah,
here we are. Okay. Wow, amazing. Oh shit. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Wow. Olivia. Huge praise. Okay. Okay, let me just ask before we move on, because that was actually on the agenda. If anyone, through the mood, through the discussion, currently has something on their mind they want to share now, or we can do the same later, or you can add to the agenda here. I'm just typing, please add and please do so. Then basically we can move on. Yeah. Agenda number 3. The community survey answers. So, Lydia, do you want to help a bit for orientation?
Yeah, so a few other times that we did something like this, I think it's good to take some time to look at it.
Yeah.
And maybe start pulling some insights. So, for example, there are some columns that are like very similar, like maybe 90% of the people are male, or 85 or something. And then a lot of people think there are 100 plus token engineers, and then just a few think that are between 10 and 50. So those are things that could like spark discussions. And then in the books, there was also a few that were repeating that we could use as like some references to bring from these materials. I thought it was interesting also in the tools. What types of tools? Where is that? What? As a token engineer, I make use of the following tools. I thought this one varied a lot also, and it might be a good point of discussion. Like, what are token engineering tools? Like, why some of this would be considered token engineering tools, and maybe comparing them, seeing the reach that they have. So this, yeah, some of these things we could start like pulling some questions from it.
Super cool. Yeah, definitely. So just for everyone, so these are the questions that we asked, right? Educational background and so on and so forth. And these are basically 20 people having answered. And yeah, I also think like this is amazing. I would also suggest that people actually really look at it, right? And basically, yeah. It was the first community survey with the questions that we designed. Yeah, not designed. Basically, that's the questions that we put together. And after that, basically, we focused on actually these 2 questions. Like, one is the diversity aspect. So one thing we could do is to basically say, you know, what questions actually, point to the diversity aspect, and what questions point to, I think, ethical aspects we have not covered at all, right? It's more like the makeup of the community with respect to their background. So it's more about capturing the diversity, more or less. And reviewing these questions for one goal, as in, so what topics and questions we can actually read from those answers, or get from those answers to put as a research or as a participatory research question, that when we have these topics, that when we discuss about, we find out more about the current realities under and circumstances under which token engineers act, react, and especially also what yeah, possibly how much of ethical issues are relevant or not, and if so, which, like more like what we did just now, finding out such topics inside the tech survey, inside the community survey. That would be something I would go for. Also, like what they wish, what are their needs. Yes. And I don't know, like Lydia, would you suggest? Is it okay if we do it asynchronously? That people really have a look and pinpoint topics, insights that can be part of this participatory research of token engineering ethos. At the very least, with respect to diversity, we have some insights here. Also, for example, when it's said token engineering design processes emerging trial and error. Well, that's I think that points towards that there are no and also when we look at what is mentioned with respect to what is considered a tool chain, right? Oh, I realize why that. So instead of tool chains, we ask for tools and chains. So that's why I think that's why we see Ethereum Web3 and the question mark there. So I think people, the question, the comma was a bit of a mistake there.
I think it makes sense to look at it async and then have kind of like an exercise for next meeting to pull out some questions from this board and some things we want to explore.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Thanks so much for putting this together. I think that makes it, in any case, more accessible to all the group. Thanks a lot. Perfect. Okay. Cool. So we have the mirror board there. Yeah, initial ideas on organizing participatory research into practical set of exercises, courses, what is needed. Yeah, that's basically it. And I think that would be, us moving towards how to structure these sessions, these methods or participatory research into one, the Consilience project, like jumping knowledge together from this diverse set, where no petal of the cryptoeconomics flower is actually overweighted or anything, but keep a balance there and offer that to the community and get feedback or insights or raise awareness of the transdisciplinarity and also what it means to be a token engineer. Such questions, I think, are really great to have a focus group or dialogues. Yeah.
Sebnem, one thought, and this is a little bit of riffing of what we were talking about or DMing about. I'm wondering if, when you think about a blockchain project, there's specific stages that they go through, right? So there's definitely the design stage and, at the very beginning, but then there's also the stage of offering, right? So token distribution, right? And there's auctions, right? Auctions get used a lot, right, in blockchain projects. Sure that there's other like discrete pieces that are general enough that apply to blockchain projects, right? And I'm wondering if it is to take one of them, like auctions, for example. We talked about the bottom protocol, how I had questions about the fairness of it, right?
Yeah.
But taking that, for example, as the something that we have enough data, or at least anecdotally, right? And also that can be relevant to these block projects, right? Is that just a thought for how do we think about what do we potentially research, right? Because if we had something about, hey, here's like at the end of it 10 super important considerations depending on context about auctioning your, right? I think that would be very relevant example. And I don't know who was mentioning this, the questions about economics as well, right? I agree that it's sometimes really hard to piece apart one from the other. And maybe there's other things that, that get in addition, not just ethics perspective, but some context matters, right? So it's all about it. Yeah, just a thought on how to potentially think about research.
Yeah, that's also something. So again, that's also something actually which is quite a useful topic to share. Thinking about how do we organize these topics, research, and then basically how this participatory research can actually become a practical set of exercises, courses, etc. So here the idea about succinct phases and decisions is super accessible, and I think it's one of those things that are super useful. And it's about these typical questions like fairness and so on and so forth. And I just shared today in the working group just a couple of references from what you find out there about ethics and algorithms. And most of it, of course, is about AI. But inside AI, beyond just looking at the training of it, etc., actually there are parallels of the dimensions of ethical considerations, and fairness is, for example, a big one. So question. Perspectives. And I think this would be super, super valuable in a sense. Like if that could be one outcome we aim for. Yeah, that would also capture, for example, Septimus' question. Also, what type of decisions, and then again, this typical who decides, who decides. Still no answer. Yeah, and then also make it actually interesting for people to participate, because at the very least if they don't have much experience, they come because they want to learn about those phases, etc. And if they have experience from those projects, hopefully they come and they can actually share actual cases of where someone who was deeply thinking about the aspects, like how can they actually share these insights. And to make it, I would somehow suggest to make it I kind of hesitate to make it project specific. However, from obvious cases, for obvious reasons, because it shouldn't feel like we're picking on certain projects, but definitely we can pick out generally describe the project phases and point to methods that have been used, right? So that is definitely should do the how do you call it, the trick.
What would be cool is in private, right, to talk to those projects from coming from a place of true curiosity and try to understand, right, how they went about these issues, so that I think that interaction would be super interesting if we can, right, to not kind of like, point fingers in public, but then in private, kind of actually, there's a lot of really smart people behind these projects, right? So I'm sure that's not, evilness that, or something like that.
So I would be more interested to actually getting token practicing or aspiring token engineers come and discuss these questions out of a genuine interest and having genuine questions. What I know, and it's no surprise to anyone, is that any live project out there, they have so many things to do. It's very hard to get at this stage. Once we have actually something that is practical, also insightful for those projects, I'm sure it will be possible or even desired by those projects, for sure. But in this early stages, I'm more interested in really people having practical questions, that they come with those questions. And we share that in a useful manner, and we try and get at the answers collectively. So in dialogue, and then make useful blueprints. Exactly, it would be super interesting. Okay, then basically, I know people have to run off, and we're 1 minute after the time. Just to update the short description here, please have a look, but I think I haven't heard any negative feedback or improvement desires. It's just a merging of what we had put together the last weeks. It should be okay, so that we can use it on the forum and everything. We have 2 forum posts that we need to make, which is the Consilience project and the other initiatives, Who Owns Ethics. I just asked Letty just to make sure if you can basically, because you have already put a lot into that document, if you could make a post, and I'll make a post with respect to this initiative, and then updating the main forum. We already got this. I would just need to update the main forum. Is that possible? Okay, Letty.
Yes, it is.
Fantastic. So with that, amazingly on time for a change. We would have everything on the agenda. And we will meet in 2 weeks, but it would be great if you would indulge in a bit of exchange in the chat, especially with respect to all the new info that has been shared today, with frameworks, etc. With the intention of how can we create those focus group sessions where basically we have a round and a topic and a set of and this group is basically in dialogue, is exchanging, conversing on the topic, and how do we capture insights, how to moderate such a group. That would be interesting to share. And then also, how do we capture the insights? We might even start with what Rodolfo suggested, because it seems very structured and very useful, even just by the name of it, blueprints and so on. Well, thank you everyone for participating.